So now the co-main event of the evening, and I'm extremely excited about this fight. This is for the number one contendership for the middleweight title, and whoever wins this fight will fight Israel Adesanya for the middleweight championship. So let's talk about Robert Whittaker first. So Whittaker rebounded really nicely from losing his title to Adesanya when he came from behind to win the Till fight fairly convincingly in the end. Whittaker paid the ultimate price of rushing too much on Adesanya, and that strategy is probably going to get him into trouble against the fighters who keep their eye on you till the last minute and do not get faced by your blitz. And I feel Cannonier is one of those fighters. So let's keep that in mind. Whittaker fights in a sideways stance and likes to start fast early. However, he has the tendency to get overzealous, and he was caught by a sneaky elbow by Till in the first round. The best part of Whittaker's game is that he throws a variety of strikes, and he throws decoys to cover up his lethal weapons. He has been really dangerous in his blitz as well as his retreats when he throws a really good check left hook that was used to finish Colton Smith and drop Derek Brinson. Whittaker has lunging attacks with winging hooks. He throws a lot of front leg side kicks. Those lunges are mostly successful, and in the last fight against Till, he managed to drop Till to the canvas using some of those lunges. He has thunderous leg kicks, and he throws them differently by moving away or kind of stepping aside and then just landing that kick into your shin and putting his weight in it. That could do a lot of damage. He's extremely quick at middleweight, and together with his lunging style, he manages to get away with most people in the division due to that speed advantage he has. Whittaker has a great takedown defense, but I think it won't be tested too much in this fight. However, Whittaker can utilize his own takedowns in this fight, though. It would be hard to take Cannonier down, but he can mix it up nicely. Whittaker has added front leg side kick and back leg kick to overextend the knee of his opponents after he got caught from one against Yoel Romero in their first fights. The other reason why he throws them is to cause his opponent to bring their head forward as they're protecting their leg. And Whittaker can have a nice full swing with this overhand right to catch them clean. It wasn't effective against Adesanya due to Adesanya's longer reach and amazing movement of his torso, but it could work well against Cannonier. Whittaker stands with his hands low, with his face jutting out to bait his opponents to fire him, and he just moves back and then counters with a fast loopy hook. Whittaker has been hurt a bunch of times, and except for Adesanya and the second Romero fight, he was able to gather himself to win the fight. Whittaker has good ground and pound, and even though it will be hard to keep Cannonier down, it might be something to look into in case Whittaker can ground Cannonier. Now let's talk about Cannonier. Cannonier has been a great addition to the UFC middleweight division and probably has a style to give a lot of middleweights problems. After his move down to middleweight from heavyweight, he still carries a lot of his power, whereas he's much faster now that he doesn't have to carry that extra weight. He has won 3 straight in middleweight, finishing Dave Branch, Anderson Silva, and Jack Hermanson around the 5-minute mark. Cannonier has his nickname as Killer Gorilla, and that kind of matches well with the kind of power he packs in his punches. He's still a developing striker, and he's making big strides at the age of 36. He moved to MMA Lab a couple of years ago, and it's definitely paying dividends. His cardio seemed to be on point in higher weight divisions, so I don't think fatigue will be an issue in this fight either. His approach in his fights as middleweight involves understanding his opponent's game plan, and once he thwarts it, he then tries to put his plan into execution, which is pressuring them so they commit for a takedown or an ill-advised strike, and he can counter. That happened in the Dave Branch fight. That happened in the Hermanson fight, where Hermanson went for a takedown in order to avoid a strike from Cannonier, and then ended up getting clipped by an uppercut and then finished on the ground. Cannonier has a lot of power in his punches, and his landed output is probably lower than Whittaker, but the accuracy is much higher. His defense is pretty high at 66%. And in his fight against Blachowicz at light heavyweight, Cannonier didn't move his head quite a lot from the center line, but in the recent fights at middleweight, he's starting to do that, and he's looking defensively much more sound. Another thing to mention is his takedown defense, which has come a long way with 185-pounders, and with the strength advantage he has at middleweight, I think the Whittaker won't be able to keep him down, even if he is able to take him down. And the last thing I want to mention is the nasty low kicks of Cannonier. He landed a bunch of them to Anderson Silva, and if you remember, Silva couldn't take any more just before the end of the first round. And Silva's movement was so much constricted after taking those leg kicks that his hooks also looked extremely labored. Now to conclude, this is a great fight, and I won't be surprised with either winning. Whittaker is more of a proven commodity at middleweight, where he's beaten a bunch of top-level fighters and displayed that he gets better as the fight progresses. However, in the last 3 fights, he has been dropped at least 5 times. So, which means in the last 12 rounds that he's fought, he's been dropped 5 times, and that is a big red flag if you're betting on Whittaker. Cannonier, on the other hand, hasn't faced adversity in any of the middleweight fights yet. He has a very calculated style that is to adjust on the basis of their opponent's plan before imposing his own game. Whittaker might get into trouble if he lunges without setting his strikes. And Cannonier, on the other hand, will have to pay attention to Whittaker's punches that come at awkward angles. We haven't seen Cannonier's ceiling at middleweight yet, and I believe he will be able to show some of it in this fight. And this brings to my prediction for the fight. And due to Cannonier being unproven at middleweight, he's coming in at minus 110, an implied probability of around 52%. And I'll be really happy to bet on Cannonier on those odds.